Hello, Joey. I hope you're doing well today. It is time that I talk about Extreme Ownership again, written, of course, as you know, by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And this time around, I think I will do a better job of incorporating what I've been trying to do or thoughts and whatnot than the original one. The original review was like 30 minutes in total or something like that, but it could definitely stand to be more concise. So, some of the big takeaways that I got from this reading was the idea of extreme ownership itself. I would say that it needs to start within you and within your own emotions. Because if you are unable to control your own emotions, especially as a man, then how can you expect to take responsibility and take ownership of all of the other things in your life? This is definitely something that I need to improve on. I am very quick to get mad or irritated by things that are either out of my control or are things that are just to be expected. For example, when I'm at work and we're in like the last 2 hours of the day, when typically there's not that many customers, say that it's a Monday or just a particularly active day or whatnot, and we're still getting a bunch of people during that time, I start getting quite grouchy, vocally so. Um, and I mean, there are aspects of all of our jobs that irritate each of us. However, it is going to be one of those things that I need to learn how to control and just be like, it is what it is. It's my job. I'm paid for it. There's not really a point in bickering. Uh, I think venting does serve its time and place, but considering that I know how I complain, I definitely think I could grow in that sense. Um, and building on from that, uh, extreme ownership isn't even just about the responsibility and all of the responsibilities you have to take onto yourself as a leader, but it is about succeeding as a team. Um, I'm pretty sure that extreme ownership is named such because it is the best title they could have given the book to get it as many listens and reads as possible. But more so, what this book is about is taking that idea and then building all the other things that are needed for success in an optimal way in a team environment and as a leader. Another really big thing that I took away from the book was that a plan, and you can apply this to all of this, you can apply it anywhere in life, but a plan needs to be simple. If you start having too many parts that are moving, too many moving parts, when things go wrong, which they inevitably will, something will go wrong. You just cannot tell when and what. A complicated plan is going to start floundering, whereas a simplistic plan that took into account those things beforehand is going to be much more ready to take care of a given problem. A way that I've been incorporating this at work, and I mean, this is something that uh, all of us at work have been implementing, is when it comes to certain ideas in terms of how we organize the golf carts that we sell or things related to storage, ways of simplifying things in a way that makes the most sense, and just making sure that we have our bases covered. For example, we had a problem recently with a customer that left animals in her storage unit. She's no longer with us. If we had gone to court as she was claiming that uh, she would have absolutely been in bad, bad trouble for animal abuse. But rather than drawing the line at, oh, you can only have your animals in there, sort of, like if you're there too or whatnot, the simple rule is just no animals. No animals in the storage units, just as an example. But that applies to strategy, it applies to execution, just keeping things in a sense that for your own well being, like if something's simple, you're able to react to problems faster. If you have a group of people, then keeping something simplistic is going to make sure that everybody understands. And the thing that you've probably heard before is that it's not about what you say, it's about what the people heard, what they were listening to. And so if it's something very complicated, you're more likely to lose people in the details. Another thing that this book talks about is decentralized command, which in its own way, at least in my brain, correct me if I'm wrong, but in a team collaborative effort, we're all our own leaders. There's the definitive leader of a group, and everybody has someone that they're answering to and people that they are directing. But in terms of our own activities within that group, our own lives, we are all our own leaders. And so just because you are answering to your manager, your leader, that does not mean necessarily that it's you versus them in terms of like some sort of power struggle. What you need to be focusing on, because this is exactly what this book is about optimal success in mission environments. You need to do your part in making sure that you are able to take care of your block of responsibility and information, and being able to, and this is a later 2 chapters after decentralized command, moving information up and down the chain of command. That way the people that are hiring command can stay intact with the bigger picture, and that way that the people lower than you, or your boss when they're talking, giving you information, are able to trust that you are able to take care of your responsibilities and they don't have to be on your back for it. And that is, again, something that we sort of do at work. Unfortunately for this book, it's kind of hard for me to say, like, this is a concrete example of how I use this information, because outside of work, I'm not really in many teams and whatnot. So, all the examples I have are work related, but I'm storage manager. I still answer to my boss. Thankfully I work for a very good manager, Nick, and he always makes a game plan for us in the morning. We always bounce things off of him. He always gives information to us. He's able to more clearly stay working with the big picture and recenter us if we're getting lost in the details. But he also trusts me to take care of storage. He entrusts technology and most of the mechanic work in terms of lead mechanic and lead technician to Steven. And we're all sharing information, and it's not some me versus them or anything like that, like, oh, I'm just this lowly worker. It's like this book isn't really talking about how your own desires to progress forward within a given company or through life financially. It is pinpoint accurate on to complete a given mission. Okay? And so it's not making some sort of statement on that regard, or at least I didn't interpret it as doing so. So yeah, we all share our given information. I pass information up the chain, usually about storage. That's the thing that I'm only going to know about in comparison to all my peers. And whether it's Steven about technical things or Nick about managerial things, then passing information down to me, we are giving each other what the others need. We all are generalists in terms of we're able to generally do what the other ones can, but we also have some specialization to us as well. And yeah, I don't know if I could really describe any of my other jobs as being like that, especially to this extent. Even though I definitely need to work on packing my bags and finding my own path, or finding a throwaway job in the meantime, something that doesn't demand as many hours a week as Battery Source, and start doing my own thing. It is really cool that we are a team of 4 and we all have we are like a band of brothers, you know. But rather than fighting in Armati, we're fighting customers and golf carts. So take that as you will. Yeah, and another big thing that the book mentioned that I wanted to talk about, discipline is freedom. And this is linking to other ideas that are generally the same that I've heard before and thought about before. But freedom for freedom's sake is not necessarily a good thing. Now, it is very easy to misconstrue what I'm saying right now, but what I'm saying is that when you have limitations that are because of your environment or because they're self-imposed, whatever it may be, it forces you to find different outlets to express your greatness. So what's a good example? If you have to build a house, if you have every single material under the sun, you're probably not going to build a very substantially good house because you have too much to work with, and you may be too flamboyant with certain ideas of the design process, and it may be a house that is poorly built. However, when you have limitations that you have to work with due to, say, it being temperature or because of bad weather involving like rain and storms, well, then those are things you have to take into consideration, and it guides your design process. I had other examples that are more applicable, but for some reason they just went straight out my brain as I went to go make this example. Hopefully they come back to me. But for example, if you have to lift batteries like me at work, if you do lifting on your own time at the gym or at home, then those batteries start weighing less. If you go to sleep and wake up at a good hour, you have more time in the day to do the things that you enjoy. You have more energy to do all the things that you enjoy or need to do. And so the examples go on and on. Essentially, when humans are forced to wear a lead ball around their leg is when they find other ways of moving around freely. It's like freedom is channeled through the lack of freedom. It's like water moving through crevices, and that's how rivers are made, right? So hopefully you catch my drift with that. But yeah, those were the general things that the book talked about. I will definitely be listening to it multiple more times. As I said, they're both just like super badass sounding guys, but like listening to them talk about Ermati is super fascinating. Leif Babin talking about how one of his men fell through a what was it? They were on a 2-story building, and one of his men steps on what he thinks is just another part of the roof, and it's just like a piece of cloth, and he falls 2 stories. And they have a height disadvantage. Like if there were jihads in the buildings around them, they would be aiming down at them. They would be at a disadvantage. They were wide out in the open, and everybody that would have wanted to start shooting at them would know that they're there. And actually, that talks about another thing: choosing priorities. So that was one of the big things I wanted to mention too. So when you are in a situation where it is chaotic, there is uncertainty, and things are dire, maybe not dire, but it is very important that actions be made now. You're on some sort of time restraint in one way or another. You have to make a bulleted priority list and focus heavily on top priority and work your way down the list until those things are self-sufficient or it is ingrained into you to take care of them. And that way you are making tangible progress and you are able to knock things out back to back to back. And so, yeah, I definitely think I'll get more from this book the further on in my professional career that I get, whether I become some sort of manager on my own, if I start doing my own thing, whatever it may not be, whatever it may or may not be. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Have a nice day.